Today, we're cracking open the histories of Flavius Josephus to dig into a really pivotal and bloody chapter in the rise of one of history's most fascinating and formidable figures, Herod. It's an incredible story of ambition, betrayal, and revenge, all happening in a fractured Judea under the long shadow of Rome. And really, Josephus himself sets the stage for us perfectly. You've got Rome in absolute turmoil, Julius Caesar has just been assassinated, and the empire is literally tearing itself apart in a brutal civil war. And this massive power vacuum, well, it's about to send some serious shockwaves all the way to the province of Judea. And this is where our story really kicks off. While the titans of Rome are busy clashing for control of an empire, a much more personal conflict is brewing. A private grudge that's going to exploit all that chaos and carve out a very bloody path to a throne. Okay, let's get into it. Part 1, the Roman power vacuum. This civil war in Rome, it created both a massive crisis and, frankly, a huge opportunity for the key players in our story. So, let's meet them. First up, the external pressure. It comes in the form of Cassius, one of Caesar's assassins. He marches his army into Syria with one very urgent goal: get money, and lots of it, to fund his war against Mark Antony and the young Octavian. And let's be clear, his demands, they aren't requests. And caught right in the middle is this guy, Antipater. He's the de facto governor of Judea, a really shrewd leader whose entire job is to keep Rome happy without pushing his own people into open rebellion. I mean, talk about walking a political tightrope. And then there's our antagonist, Malichus. He's a powerful Judean nobleman who absolutely despises Antipater and his entire family. This isn't just politics. Josephus tells us there is a powerful enmity there. This personal hatred, it's what's going to drive this whole story forward. So, on to part 2, a test of loyalty. Cassius's heavy-handed demands are about to force everyone's hand, and it's going to reveal who these people really are. The demand is just staggering, 700 talents. Now, to give you an idea of how much that is, a single talent was more than a laborer would make in a decade. This wasn't just a tax, it was basically a king's ransom. And Antipater knows that failure is not an option. Cassius is not a man you want to disappoint. He was known for enslaving entire cities just for being too slow. So this is where you really see how these guys respond under pressure. Antipater divides at the task. His young son Herod, who's governing Galilee, acts with just stunning speed. He delivers his 100 talents and immediately gets on Cassius's good side. Malichus, on the other hand, he drags his feet. His reluctance puts him in mortal danger, and it just shows he has no clue about this new Roman reality. In fact, Cassius is about to have Malichus executed for the delay. But then, in a move that's just wild, Antipater steps in. He covers the debt himself, saving the life of his greatest rival. Now, it was a pragmatic move, sure, to keep things stable, but it's a decision that's going to come back to haunt him big time. All right, part 3, the seeds of betrayal. And yeah, as you can probably guess, that act of mercy from Antipater, it is not going to be repaid in kind. Not at all. I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows you the sheer depth of Malichus's treachery. He's saved from execution by Antipater, and what's his response? To immediately start plotting against him. When that fails, Antipater spares him a second time, and Malichus's final response? He bribes a cupbearer to poison Antipater at a feast, murdering the man who had just saved his life twice. So, what was the final straw that pushed Malichus to do this? It was this promotion. Cassius, who was super impressed with Herod's efficiency, makes him procurator of all Syria. This wasn't just some fancy title. It meant Herod now had command of Roman troops and the full authority of Rome behind him. Malichus saw the writing on the wall. Antipater's family was getting way too powerful. So in his fear, he decided to strike at the father. So, with Antipater dead, the whole story pivots to his son. Part 4, a son's calculated revenge. Herod is no longer just a governor. Now, he's an avenger. But here's the thing about Herod. He doesn't act rashly. His first instinct is to march on Jerusalem with an army, for sure, but his brother advises caution. So Herod decides to play the long game. He outwardly accepts all of Malichus's lies, even holds this grand funeral for his father, all while secretly planning his revenge. And this is where you see just how brilliant a political operator Herod really is. He doesn't just go rogue. He goes straight to the ultimate authority in the region, Cassius. By sending a letter, he's not really asking for permission. He's making his revenge a matter of Roman statecraft, knowing full well that Cassius already despises the treacherous Malichus. And Herod gets exactly what he wants. Cassius gives him not just his blessing, but official Roman sanction. He privately commands his officers to assist Herod in a righteous action. This is no longer just a personal revenge quest, it's a state-sanctioned execution. Which brings us to the climax, Part 5, A Rival's End. Herod now has the authority, he's got the means, and boy does he have the motive. Herod's plan is just so precise and ruthless. He invites Malichus to supper in Tyre, then he sends a servant, pretending to go prepare the meal, but he's really giving the signal to the Roman officers. They move in, surround Malichus on the seashore away from any of his allies, and they just cut him down. It was a very public and a very brutal message. And the effect of this? It's immediate. Hyrcanus, who's the high priest and technically the ruler of Judea, is so terrified by the whole spectacle that he actually faints. This one moment shows you the new reality. Power in Judea isn't with the old priesthood anymore. It's with Herod and his Roman backers. So when Hyrcanus is finally revived, he's asked who was responsible. He hears it was by Cassius's command, and he publicly praises the act. But Josephus leaves us to wonder, was he speaking his true feelings, genuinely relieved a troublemaker was gone? Or was this the statement of a man in profound fear for his own life? So Herod had avenged his father, but this whole thing leaves us with the essential question of his story. Was this righteous justice for a murdered parent? Or was it just a cold, brutally effective move in his own ruthless climb to power? The answer, a lot like Herod himself, is really complicated, and it absolutely sets the stage for the notorious reign that was still to come.